listening to Pop This, the podcast where three women talk about pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen, Andrea Gin, and Andrea Warner.
So here it is, Valentine's Day, and
when we're recording this, not when people are listening to it.
You missed it. If this is news to you, I hope you had no one that you were supposed to give anything to.
Honestly, I'm gonna say if this was news to you, welcome to our Valentine's Day, where the three of us spend the evening scheduled to record a podcast, and none of us said, you know what, I got other plans. No, we said this is where we choose to be. The great loves of our lives, the three of us together.
Yeah, yes. We wanted to be together and talk about a very dark and mysterious film. That's how we do things.
A European film.
Yeah. The absolute, just sort of messy nest of a marriage and unraveling all of its dark peculiarities and resentments.
Can you imagine this European art house film? What a Valentine's Day date that would be.
Oh,
to go see this together.
Wow.
Honestly, I love that. So I'll tell you guys both the truth. When we're done this episode and when we're done recording, my big plan with Carlos is that we're going to watch the final 2 episodes of The Brother's Son.
Oh,
and I could not be happier about it. I am thrilled with this plan. I love it. We ordered some Thai food and had that beforehand. And, will I have an edible as well? Yeah, probably. Because it's V-Day and I deserve to enjoy The Brother's Son.
Well, I bought these on the way home, Hershey's Kisses, which is my nemesis right here. And
nemesis because they taste like garbage and you're just punishing yourself? Or, you've already eaten them all. I see.
I did.
I see.
I've discovered about myself, and you know what? I'm going to put it out there. Apparently, I like junk chocolate better than good chocolate. I don't know.
Amazing.
I have some good chocolate here, that was purchased, like a proper chocolatier, I guess would be the right word for that.
Sure.
Some kind of lots of cocoa and sea salt, whatever. Add some adjectives.
Yeah.
And it's been sitting there for...
And somebody's creativity and passion.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's been sitting in my cupboard now for 3 months. Wow. And...
Oh, you should eat them.
This little thing called out to me. And I don't...
Well, that's great, Lisa. Think of how much money you're going to save yourself by knowing this.
I know,
That's
but
true.
I feel terrible. I feel like a real, rube or something,
Does it make you feel basic?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't shy away from my basicness, though. I'm very comfortable with it. So I guess I'll just have to add this to the list of things I do that...
It makes things so much easier because, I have 2 nephews who are 10 and 13, and my sister just told me a few years ago, she's like, don't buy them nice chocolate. They don't appreciate it. They don't really like it. Just, buy whatever from London Drugs.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
not I hope, the fine people of Quality Street aren't listening because I'm not a big fan. And that comes out every Christmas.
Quality Street,
that's not my, I like the look
those.
of it, of course. The pretty colorful cellophane and all, but I don't like the taste of it. I'm not really a pot of gold person either. No. Or a, I mean, I've tried them.
Russell
all of them.
Stover.
Yeah, no.
I hate cream chocolates.
Yeah.
I think they're just ones that are
gross.
full of cream. Gross. I'm often basic, but because specifically I have no palate for super fine dark chocolates or anything like that. I want nothing to do with it. But I love milk chocolate.
That's what this is.
And different kinds of milk chocolates from Purdy's.
That.
I'm a milk chocolate Purdy's person forever.
So is Purdy's only in
BC?
BC?
Yeah.
Or is it across Canada?
No, it's BC, but it does ship across Canada.
Ah, they have that big factory on Kingsway, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, I love going to that factory.
Yeah.
You go? What's it like?
they have a store. I've never been in the back. I've never had that, but they have a store. And you can also get factory seconds if sometimes they have them for sale.
The hedgehogs don't quite work out or something?
Yeah. Like just something hasn't gone quite right or something broke or whatever. And so they'll put together a bag of factory seconds. But also it's just the one in Kingsway actually is kind of the closest one to me at this point.
I think I would be disappointed if I went to the factory and there weren't Oompa Loompas. I think that's why I stay away.
When we lived in Pennsylvania, there's a real like artisanal local chip culture there where a lot of small companies make chips, but only deliver them around Pennsylvania. And I remember one of the local brands had a line of seconds of chips.
Oh, wow.
And some of them were just like all the flavors mixed together in a bag, and they were seconds. Or some of them were like slightly like burnt.
Oh, that's my favorite. I love burnt things.
That would be so good. The slight burnt.
Oh my
chips.
gosh. I burn things on purpose. I love the taste of burnt.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's
and
nice. I love potato chips. I mean, that is a real problem for me as well. Like,
yeah, don't go to Pennsylvania because their thing is that they cook the chips in lard.
Nice.
And that's gives them like a special kind of.
There's no vegetarian potato chips in Pennsylvania.
No. I don't.
I had no idea. No. This is like a whole new. I've never even thought about it. I mean, I do like that. Is one of the things I do enjoy about a trip to the United States. Is the chips are different. I love different chips. Mm-hmm. It's a problem.
There's a really good local brand in Washington State that I only recently, like in the last few years, discovered called Tim's. It's red and white stripes.
Oh, I've seen Tim's.
It's nice.
Yeah, I like
they're
Tim's.
good.
It's so good. It's like a gas station.
That's
chip,
it.
but
Where I
it's
get
made
it
in
at the
Washington
gas
State.
station. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember I was buying some once, and the woman who was at the cash register was like, "This chip brand is so local that she remembered them selling it. Like they just put it in like a white plastic bag and hand them to people." Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, now see, here's what happens to me. I always do this. I gorge myself on some sort of sweet, and then I want savory, and then I'll eat the savory, and then you know what happens, right?
I do.
I'll go back and forth. But yeah, I mean, I do think I'm going to save money and I'm going to save time, and I'm not going to buy artisanal chocolates anymore. I'm just going to go right into the London Drugs, grab my snack and leave and not feel ashamed about it.
I went out for Valentine's Day pastrami sandwiches today.
Oh, yeah.
For lunch.
Perfect.
Romantic.
At the Omnitsky Deli. Have you been there?
Oh, I get
So
delivery
good.
from there.
Where's it on? Is it
nice.
on Granville?
Oak Street.
Oak Street, right. Okay. Omitsky.
Omnitsky's Deli.
Okay.
It used to be across from Oak Ridge. But the actual, like, I think the whole building that it's in with a bunch of other places is, I think, for sale. So get there while you can in case it does not reopen. I'm not sure what will happen. But
That's depressing.
I know. I really like their all beef hot dogs, or I used to. The last time I had them, they were a bit dry, but I will get a hot dog delivered from there to me.
Really?
Wow.
And I get my grandma an egg salad sandwich, and then Carlos will sometimes have like the pastrami.
I had no
Nice.
idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Deluxe people.
No, it's like, it's an excellent deli. Just,
Yeah.
there's not many left in the city.
Completely agree. And if you do get it, you can also like you can eat in if you want, but you can take it to go. And then there's like a park nearby that has a few picnic benches, and they're quite lovely. They are on school grounds, so you can't eat there during the school day, but weekends.
You know what I saw in front of it today? It's called the Pet Park. It's a little box you can park your dog in and then go in and eat in the restaurant.
Wow.
Does it have a key? Like it locks up sort of?
Yeah,
Oh.
it locks, and then there's like a window, and I guess your dog just sits there. It's like a dog house.
Wow.
And I guess they're supposed to be all over the city, so like people can put their dogs there and go in like restaurants and stuff.
I don't know if I would trust one.
I know. I'd feel so nervous about it. I don't know.
No, I would never.
I have often been asked to watch people's dogs when they go inside a place because I'm often sitting outside, and usually it's great because I love to hang out with randos' dogs, and but occasionally I'll get left one that is just absolutely beside itself that it's been left outside without its owner, and the intense feeling that these kinds of dogs have for their one specific person. it overwhelms me. I cannot handle the pressure of anything needing me to the point where it seems like it will stop breathing because it's hyperventilating so badly that I am not next to it. It's so much responsibility.
That's actually
And I
all
always-
we ask for our dogs is just to treat us that way. Just like the center of the universe. That's all we ask. That's it, you know?
It's too much. It's too much. You know, I kind of think about like the dog in the movie that we're going to talk about, and I think that dog had exactly the kind of dog energy that I do really love and appreciate. And I understand the dog was a service animal as well, so like that could be part of its
Calmness.
the calmness and whatnot. I love dogs that like really have such character in their own faces. You know, like some dogs just have such character, and like they are characters, but then like their faces look a little bit samey to other dogs. This dog had so much character in so many different ways. And if we only talked about the dog the entire podcast, I might be okay with that.
I mean, he's won a major dog acting award, so
That's true.
It's justified.
And
You're right.
I don't
You're right, it's
care. I know there's like dog lovers out there listening to this podcast, and I don't care. Let's just spoil it. The dog's fine. And you did that for me, and I appreciated it so much before I watched it.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime. Absolutely. Well, let's get into it. This is actually a show about a movie about a dead man in a marriage. But anyway, also a dog.
Yeah.
And the dog's really important. I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea Gin.
And you're listening to Pop This. And yeah, if you don't know about this movie, we will spoil it, I guess, is the way that you might want to say it. Although I think, I don't know, there's a lot of aspects to this film that I think are kind of like unspoilable. But we were talking about Anatomy of a Fall. Huge Oscar buzz and hype. Kind of like one of those indie darlings that just performed massively out of the gate, won the Palme d'Or, and has continued to sort of pick up a lot of steam as it barrels towards the Oscars. And it has also caused some like controversial debates about, did she do it? Did she not do it? Who cares? I love that.
That's the point of the movie.
Yeah.
I love that cycle of conversation. That's the thing. Like, I love that cycle of conversation. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about it with you guys.
Well, it feels like something that we had to watch for Oscar season because it is getting so much buzz.
Oh, I'm so glad we did, though. I mean, it's another one of those movies, though, that you really got to commit, and I think you got to be really quiet. I don't think I'd like to watch it. You know how like you watch with friends, you watch a movie and there's chit chat? You can't do that with this. I think you got to immerse.
No.
I think you've got to commit to it and fully immerse yourself in it, you know, and just like almost like blinkers. That's how I feel. You need to watch it.
Well, I think too, because like the whole time you're just trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. Like the whole time you're watching the movie, you're just like looking at it from different angles, assessing all the information as we're getting it, and just like trying to work it out for yourself. But then I think when you get towards the end, you kind of realize maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe that's not the point.
Yeah, like I feel like it's quite a mesmerizing film. Mm-hmm. It is like there's a slowness to it. I do think that 2 hours and 32 minutes is longer than it didn't for me earn 2 hours and 32 minutes. I would have been quite fine at like 2 hours and 10 or whatever. And, you know, for anyone keeping track at home, my grandmother did leave after the first hour because she was just tired of people yelling at each other. And I was like, you know, that's like a fair assessment. Because it is quite a talky film. Like there's, you know, a lot of conversation. And yeah, but I find everything about this movie so fascinating. I find quite a lot of the discourse about the movie quite interesting. And friend of the pod, Sanara Geisler, frequent guest and fill-in host. And she was just like, she and I have talked about it a bit. And her fury at like a lot of male critics' reactions to the film is it fills my soul with delight because she's right and she should be met. And I just can't wait to talk about it all with you guys.
Okay, agreed.
Lisa, would you like to read the background?
Yeah. Wow. Yes, it's a big one here. All right.
I mean, you could maybe selectively.
There's a lot of like footnotes.
Additional information.
Oh, I see. Okay. Anatomy of a Fall is a 2023 French legal drama thriller film directed by Justine Triet from a screenplay she wrote with Arthur Harari. It stars Sandra Hüller as a writer trying to prove her innocence in her husband's death. Anatomy of a Fall premiered at the 76th Cannes Film Festival on the 21st of May, 2023, where it won the Palme d'Or and the Palme Dog Award, and competed for the Queer Palm. It was released theatrically in France by La PAC on the 23rd of August, receiving critical acclaim and selling over 1 million admissions in France, and was nominated in 11 categories at the 49th Annual César Awards. The film also gained significant international success, winning 2 awards at the Golden Globes and being nominated for 7 awards at the BAFTAs and 5 at the Oscars. And Justine became the 3rd woman to win the Palme d'Or. Jane Campion won for The Piano, and Julie Ducournau for Titane Are the Others. And so it's been nominated in the Academy Awards for Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Film Editing. Oh, and also I missed the dog part. The Palme Dog Award is a yearly award presented by the International Film Critics during the Cannes Film Festival. Begun in 2001 by Toby Rose, it is awarded to the best performance by a canine, live or animated, or a group of canines. And I believe we're all feel quite good that this award was won by this dog. I agree with that.
Yeah,
It's a very special dog.
Very,
Messy
very
is
special.
Snoop. Messy, the dog playing Snoop.
Mm-hmm.
I had never heard of the Palme Dog, and I am thrilled that I'm late to the party, but thrilled to finally be here.
Agreed. Yes.
AG, do you want to read the synopsis?
Sure. After moving to a remote town in the French Alps, Sandra, her husband Samuel, and their 11-year-old son Daniel have been adjusting to their new lives. Sandra and Samuel are both writers, though Sandra has had many more successes that add to the pair's growing friction. This has caused a rift in their relationship, as even a career interview seemingly upsets Mr. Molesky. He continues to play an obnoxiously loud rendition of 50 Cent's hit single PIMP. Once the interview ends, Daniel, who also happens to be blind, ventures off into a nearby wooded area to walk his dog. Upon his return, Daniel discovers the corpse of his father in the snow below their chalet, jump-starting the mystery surrounding his death. And that's from Patrice Weatherspoon at Screen Rant.
Yeah, I feel just one important note of clarification for Daniel is legally blind. He has some limited vision. Mm-hmm. So I think that for me it took me a little bit to figure that out, like, because they don't make it necessarily super apparent in the first like half hour of the film. But yeah, so he has very limited vision, but he is legally blind. Mm-hmm. What did you guys think? Did you like? I liked it a lot.
Well, first of all, I kind of wanted to talk about what a nightmare scenario it would be to be having to go into court in a country where you don't speak the language
can't even imagine
talk about your story. Because I read part of it was that Justine Triet was inspired to write it by the Amanda Knox story.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I found the film to be quite riveting, and that was like part of it, just being drawn into like how did this woman get into this situation? It's so, and finding herself in this courtroom having to try and speak French and explain what happened and how her husband died.
Yeah, I mean, I think like sort of she's on trial for her performance of like her gender, you know, like she's expected to be a certain kind of woman.
Yes.
And she rejects that entirely. And she ends up on trial for that, in my mind. Like, and I definitely had no doubts in, like, to me, it was never even a question that, like, she did not do this. I don't think she did it. There's so many reviewers out there who often are male reviewers who are like, but we don't know. Did she do it? I'm like, Like, it's fine to not know, but like it's so fascinating to see how many different folks watched this film, watched the prosecutor be like ridiculously over the top and like so obviously misogynistic, and just like we're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. That checks out.
Okay, so I was completely mesmerized and baffled by the courtroom scenes. Is that what a French courtroom really looks like? Like, I've never, I mean...
Yeah, that's a big question mark.
It was wild. I mean, people are just leaning up against desks, just coming here and there, standing up, talking. Like, I was so confused. If this is, like, I'll be honest and say most of the courtroom dramas I've ever seen probably are like American, Canadian, or British, right? I've seen, there's one really good one that I watched on Netflix that's Swedish. And so that was a whole other kind of courtroom scene as well, which again was quite different. The dynamics and how people sit and talk and things. But this was wild. It was like something I'd never seen before. And is this what it looks like in a French courtroom?
But yeah, and that idea that like there's a guardian assigned to the child to live with him while his mother's on trial, so she can't influence his thinking. Like, that's interesting.
I found all of it really fascinating. I was also just like, this is actually kind of incredible. I also have no understanding of the French legal system in terms of court trials or in general. But like, I just
and why would you?
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's I haven't been on trial yet in France. But like, I was really fascinated by the idea that you could, as a person who's on trial, engage in a back and forth
that's what
dialogue. I actually thought, oh, that's good. Like that, like, I mean, I know that this particular court played out in a lot of ridiculous and sort of like just...
Is it ridiculous? I don't know. Like, is this what it looks like? I haven't read it. I haven't looked up any information about whether or not this is like exactly accurate. I mean, I have no reason to believe it isn't, though.
But like the prosecutors, like, the prosecutor being so ride or die and like just like bringing in this like parade of like so-called experts who just like the psychiatrist, like, you know, anyway, it was just this, it was wild to me, especially since like the first, or when he like reads from her books to try and prove that she just like basically is like, writing, auto fiction, and it's like all true life, and she just is like fulfilling all of her books, and that's how they've become successful, you know. But anyway, it was just wild to me that like the first person that they bring in for her and for her defense like is very clear to be, and she's like, yeah, no, he obviously fell, and she makes like some really reasonable like declarations of like how he fell out the window, banged his head, and died, and like. And that's like, that just does not penetrate. And like the defense person is going to bring in person after person after person to try and like railroad her. And it's, I don't know. I was fascinated by like what they do.
But I mean, courtroom. Like, yeah, that is echoes of what happened to Amanda Knox.
Yeah.
You can sort of like it. Yeah, it happens in other countries in real life. But yeah, I mean, to me, it was really like, I felt pretty sure, like it was obvious that she didn't kill him because, you know, it would be hard to throw a man out a window. Just period.
Yeah. Also,
anyway.
like so many better ways if she'd wanted to.
Yeah.
I just think she's smarter than that. Anyway.
Yeah, and then there's just this parade of trying to prove her guilty. Yeah.
It just, I guess what I'm fascinated, like, is this, and I mean, I know this from watching other courtroom dramas, that this idea that you find people to create some kind of character that you want her to be, right? This ball-busting bisexual woman who's career hungry and hates her kid. I mean, basically that's what
Yeah.
they wanted everyone, the jury, to think this is who she was.
They tried real hard to present her as that. Yeah, for sure.
And even though there was, her lawyer would be very like, well, you don't actually know that. You don't actually know that. And they'd be all, well, yeah, okay, I guess. So it was very peculiar. Like, it was just...
It was so fascinating to see how obviously sexist it was, and yet have it still feel normalized.
Well, yeah,
to the point where people are leaving the movie not sure if she did it or not. Like this is not just an indictment of like the heterosexual marriage as like a flawed system of like gender dynamics and labor division, but like of the entire culture.
Well, that's what I was thinking when I was watching it, is just that it is like sort of a meta thing, because like we're watching people watching this murder trial unfold just in the same way that we probably watch murder trials unfold in the newspaper and on TV and on the internet every day.
Yeah.
Like we don't get any information other than that information. Like we don't know what's going on in people's lives. We don't know, like it's all kind of filtered through this lens, this sexist lens of society.
Yeah.
And to me, that was the most fascinating like part of the movie. It wasn't about the courtroom drama. It was about like society and understanding that like we never know the full picture of any trial that we read about in the media, and we can't.
No, we can't. No.
When it got to the point where we hear the conversation that Samuel taped, and we hear the conversation first. I think we find out after the fact that he had been recording all of their conversations for a while, because that he was going to use that as the foundation for his book, or his book that he was like allegedly going to write at some point. But like, so we get into like all of the conflicts that are at the heart of this relationship. And I thought it was so brilliantly written, like, and honestly brilliantly performed as well. But just like when we see her refuse to, like acquiesce, he's saying, oh, well, I spend all my time like, homeschooling our son. I do this, I do that, I do this, and he's got this list of things that when on the surface, it does seem, like he's doing a lot. And then to hear her point out, like, I warned you that you would want time for writing and that you did not need, there's no reason to homeschool this kid. There's no reason to, the only reason to do it is to assuage your own guilt for your part in his accident. And just to hear her refuse to back down and see how that just slowly like reduces him into this like tantruming, like when she testifies that the prolonged beating sounds you hear are him hitting himself. I really had no doubt about that. Like that is 100% the behavior of like the kind of person who engages in this like sort of self-martyrdom. And it was chilling, frankly. Absolutely chilling.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
I think that's what like European art house films often are. I find
in their reality is
yes,
chilling.
Yeah, it was, and it was just like also the part that was driving me crazy in that one conversation. That like I guess that would be like the big part of the movie is this conversation, which they only have the recording, but we get to see. Yeah. Right. And it's just this, what even in the good goddamn hell are you doing living in this place when you have like, it didn't even like, honestly, that was kind of like, here we have this son who's visually impaired and has a lot of special needs. Let's move out into the middle of nowhere in a house I'll renovate.
So they can Airbnb.
So the can like, Airbnb. Yeah. It didn't like, it absolutely makes no sense at all. So I don't blame her for being, and we see this and we're going, well, you went look at, she's an incredible woman. She went along with your, is this a swear word, cockamamie? I hope not.
It's not a swear word. I mean,
cockamamie
it might be from
skew.
the Victorian era, but it's like showing your ankles in the Victorian era. I think you're okay.
But yeah, I mean, it was very frustrating. But I have to say, some of the other things about the movie that I thought were really interesting is that, you brought up AG, you brought up the part about not being in a courtroom and you don't even speak the language. But the whole film is super fascinating by the fact that we have a German woman speaking English to a French man who's speaking English to her, to the French courtroom, to like it. I would say most of the movie is in English, actually. And that is so interesting about how we feel about these characters and is language. It's super fascinating.
And whose story can become
Right.
clearer, and whose story is then
And sympathetic.
Yeah.
and sympathetic, and whose story is sort of and also like she's supposed to, at home, she's supposed to only communicate in French, I think, with her son in front of the court appointed guardian, or I can't remember, but like there's some linguistic demand there as well. So even not only does she have a stranger living in her home with her and her child, but like she's also sort of navigating a really complex set of restrictions, the relationship she can have with her child in this time, which, again, super, super fat. Like this poor kid, I gotta say,
Oof.
he doesn't get to like grieve his dad. He has to like deal with everything else. And like, I don't know. I'm also mad at like, just why would they charge her without like a better investigation? Like, I don't know. It just, ugh.
But it's such a nuanced performance from that child.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. So good.
Milo Mikado Branner.
Incredible.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Like the courtroom stuff, and like this is sense of like you can see that he kind of wants to protect his mom. The way that I don't know, you're kind of thinking like, is he changing his story because like he wants to protect his mom, or did he really kind of remember new details, or like what's going on in this child's mind? But I just found so much, like the acting performance was so incredible. And I just, I'm shocked that child is not up for a bunch of acting awards.
Yeah, maybe it's up for Caesars or something. Yeah. I have to say, though, that speaking about the ending, I know I'm jumping ahead, but in terms of body language, did either of you feel like it was very peculiar after she came home from the dinner and, she'd been found innocent, and she picks up her son and takes him into bed, and then he's still awake. And the way he hugs her, the way he brings her head into him, which is the opposite of what I would, you'd usually see.
Yeah.
Did you find that? Were you thinking about that?
I thought about it while I was watching it for sure. And I thought it was his way of, like, he had pushed her away so much throughout the trial, and he had, I think, let himself think, oh, she could have done this. And that's how he gets to the point where he poisons the dog, right? Like, that was such a crushing turning point for him, where he was so tormented by this idea that like maybe his mom could have done it. And then to find out that his dad had attempted to take his own life with these pills. And so, and that was like potentially how the dog had gotten sick so long ago. And so for him to sort of like stage that, I think it was like, I think he had reached his own breaking point of like feeling like he had punished his mom enough. And now that she had been legally found innocent and he had sort of made this like testimony on her behalf, he was like comforting her.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was kind of like what was happening in that moment. But it did strike me as like super fascinating because we hadn't seen that level of care between them. But I think that's because that's what the movie needed to do. Because like we need to get to the point where we understand why he might poison his like very best friend.
Yeah, that was a wild decision. Like, just,
I know. I know.
It was like this, everything about this film, every single moment was unexpected. It was like, no matter what I thought I knew, I didn't. Every move they made, every discussion they had, like that very interesting relationship she has with her lawyer.
Like, who's obviously her ex and like
And still very much in love with her.
Still very much in love with her. I love the idea of like Sandra Hüller is like the character that she plays here is such a compelling, dynamic force of a person that everyone is sort of wants to sort of possess her in some way. And she resists that all the time. But she's absolutely able to work with it to sort of like get where she needs to go. And I don't think she uses it, but I think she it's not a mistake that she calls him first.
Yeah.
I was reading that Sandra Hüller in a lot of interviews was talking about how she, while she was shooting the movie, kept asking Justine Triet if her character did it or not. And Justine Triet just refused to tell her anything.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But I also, she was not afraid, like, I guess it was her bluntness. And then I think that's something that if we are going to have to make this decision, did she do it or didn't she? There's something so blunt about her that it would be hard to imagine that she would hide behind that. Like, she strikes me as a sort of, you know what I mean? Like, what we know about her, what we've watched her be like, is just very honest to a fault. Even when she's talking to that lawyer and she's like, do you remember when you met me? And he's like, yeah, I was so in love with you. And she's like, I seriously can't remember anything. Like, right? I have no memories, she says.
You know, there's like an interesting sort of, I guess like you could sort of do an interesting sort of spin on this as like she's a very sort of like fascinating contemporary femme fatale character for 2023. And I think there could be a reading of the film that's like supports that. But I just feel like the movie does give us absolutely enough plausible. There's no way that like in any shape or form where the jury should have been able to decide on any verdict except innocent, because like they really don't prove, like it's all so speculative. Like nothing even about like the forensic of his fall off the roof, and then like nothing disputes that either. And her motivation to murder him, like while he was absolutely, I think, like a big pain, and a real baby person who's obviously having a midlife crisis and is threatened extremely by her success. Like her success is on trial. Her like being a woman with boundaries is on trial. Being a mother who seems like a completely competent and fine parent from all accounts. Like there's nothing about her in any way, shape, or form that seems like she is not a fine parent. You know what I mean? Like it's just, but all of these things become what she's on trial for. And like this dead body is like just an excuse. And God, it's just, I just think this movie is so smart and so successful on so many levels. And I feel like.
And a little haunting.
Yeah.
Haunting.
Yeah.
So like, that's the thing. It's going to like stick with me for a while.
Yeah.
Like it's not going anywhere.
And it's interesting too, because I think that to a large degree, the movie is kind of summed up in the first 10 minutes.
For sure.
Like we've seen her, she's extremely flirtatious with that writer. There's just no other way to read that. The music comes on. It is so annoying. It is awful.
Yeah. And disrespectful.
And she's able to just brush it off. Like she's just like, this happens all the time. No big deal. I'm just going to deal with it. And then he's dead. So you're either like watching that going, oh my gosh, she's like puts up with so much. And obviously this is how she's decided to live her life. Or that was the last straw and she pushed him out the window. Like everything's in that first 10 minutes, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it is so clever in that, you know, like even though you kind of you feel like you get the sense of the situation right away in the movie, she then proceeds to tell you
Yeah.
2 hours worth of other information.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which all led into that opening scene, right? Which is all like,
Yeah.
we see the boy go for the walk on his own. So there's something sort of solitary about him as well. As much as the dad
Yes.
plays up his, this incredible relationship, you see the boy washing his own dog and getting ready
Yeah.
and going out for this walk. Like, this is a kid that can take care of himself, right? And so we've got all of these clues, but then you're right, we fill in more of the things, but ultimately it's all in the first 10 minutes.
But this is also, and I think the other thing that I like about this movie is that it exploits a lot of sort of tropes where like she, like, it's obviously like a lot of it's not just a culture of sexism, but it's a culture of like homophobia. Like, she's such a threat because she happens to have like multiple different sexual partners and is bisexual. Like, that's somehow like, for as much as we always hear about liberal ideas towards sex in French culture and like having multiple affairs, etc., and mistresses, etc., we just see that, and that if he had been having an affair, no one would have even blinked twice. Like, she's had a few different affairs, and that's this sort of like inciting thing to why they haven't had a satisfying sex life in several years. Not just because he is like super resentful, so mad at her, regrets every decision he's ever made and blames it on her and has no accountability. Like, he said, I'm not going to do anything with this plot from this book. You can have this device. She takes it, makes it sing, turns it into a successful book, and he's furious. Like, I don't know. Like, I found it so frustrating, but also familiar, because I feel like we've seen this in other situations and in other ways, and it's so blatant here that I think it's extra galling,
I found it especially like that moment where his psychiatrist has been coming in and talking about like
How she castrated him?
Yeah, exactly. Like all the stuff he said about her and stuff. But then her answer is just like, yeah, like if I had a psychiatrist, that person could come in and they would say all the terrible things, I think that like he's done to me. So
Exactly.
It's just like this whole, I think this movie like is so good at making this point. It's just that like people only get like parts of the picture that is like of the whole thing that is happening, and the sort of the whole picture is kind of unknowable in a way, like unless like to the bystander. And I think take that, I think it's like something we should all think about when we're like scrolling through reading about murder trials on the internet and whatnot. It's just that like we're getting some summary written by somebody that is just like one piece of this puzzle, and we don't know the most of it probably.
I was just going to say, the other thing I think is really fascinating is that the movie was written by a couple, because the screenwriter is her partner, Justine's partner.
Oh, wow. I did not know that they were.
Yeah. So
That makes me so happy.
I know. And so I wonder, like, it's not just that, like, if he wrote a screenplay and had a partner, whatever, but it's this partner that he made the film with, right? And I wonder if that's why it has that raw, real feeling to it. Like, that fight is particularly, each knowing each other's buttons, and it's fascinating to me, that particular part of it, because it is anatomy of a marriage as well as a fall.
And there's something really specific about them both being writers that is just like, so like, of course it's going to be competitive. Like, of course the more successful person is, the other person's going to be jealous of whoever has more success. Their book is, more successful or whatever. Like, there's something like so immediately understandable about the relationship that a marriage that involves two writers.
Well, and it's also so interesting to me that like the successful writer is the one who makes time for her writing, and the unsuccessful writer is the one who does literally everything he can except write.
Yeah.
And makes up every excuse humanly possible to not write. And but still expects that he should be more successful. That is I feel like we've seen this so much, especially in heterosexual relationships and especially between famous people, or one person's fame is more than the other person and they enter in on the same level and then one sort of like goes through the roof and the other doesn't. And like he's obviously so mad, not just that she's flirting with this like interviewer, but he's so mad that this interviewer has come all this way to like talk to her and like esteems her with so much importance that they're going to prioritize a discussion about craft. Like, that's obviously such a blow to him. And his choice of song is wild. The really like furious childishness. Like, it's an insult to children. I don't know what you want to call it, but like just the pettiness of that action is, oh my God, it is a chef's kiss detail. Like,
it is.
Could not, oh my God, I just...
I wanted to throw that music out the window.
Oh, wow. For sure.
But it was just the way that
So
she's
annoying.
like, don't pay attention to it. Like, he just wants you to pay attention. Don't. And you're just sitting there as your mind is in the interviewer going, I want to get out of here. I don't want anything to do with whatever's going on here.
Yes. I guess that was my only question for this movie was how has this woman who seems to have options and is quite
why is she there?
collected, why is she there? Like, and I get like in the fight, they have like a kind of there's like a couple of tender moments where she tries to like, I think, engage with him lovingly. And he's just too full of self-pity and anger to like really sort of like
But also,
meet her on that level. And
I guess because they share a son, that it would be
I
complicated
get
to have like a cross-border like
I get that. Like, I do get
parental
that.
situation.
But I just think if you're that toxically, like, if your relationship is so toxic to the point where you're like having an actual literal slap fight and throwing dishes and like doing violence, like, I don't know. For me, that's a gotta go. Can't stay here anymore. I understand other people have different breaking points. And I think a kid obviously makes it like way more complicated. Plus, it seems like their finances are quite complicated too. But I just thought the character that we are being presented with is so calm and cool and collected on the stand and has like all of these sort of strategies and lives this kind of slightly separate life from him already. She must have an exit plan. And it's, I mean, it's not, I don't think it's his murder.
I was going to say some people would say it's murder.
Yeah.
I remember from my high school that this family that lived down the street from us, like their parents hated each other, screaming fights all the time. The kids were miserable. It was a horrible family situation. But they had made this deal to stay together until the last child graduated from high school.
Yeah.
And seriously, on the day like my friend graduated from high school, their parents filed for divorce, like literally on the day.
Now, this is a personal question, but do any of those children that grew up in that environment, have any of them had successful relationships that are long-term?
I don't know.
Because I can't imagine that it would be very easy after growing up like that. My God.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't know like that. And again, I'm just quoting back the language of the movie. Like, we don't know all the parts.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
We don't even know what brought them together. Like, maybe it was some great love story. And maybe because she did say this, that their son getting that accident was what changed everything, which happens in marriages, right? I mean, a horrible, especially one that can be blamed on someone. But even in that, I didn't really think it was his fault. He just asked for a babysitter to get. But anyway, there's no reason to suggest that if he hadn't picked up his son, that something couldn't have happened. You know what I mean? Like all these things. But it struck me as that was a big change in their marriage. And who knows how that affected both of them.
It had just been slowly fracturing apart ever since. Yeah.
So what do we think of this movie's chances at the Oscars?
It's a good year at the Oscars. I've got to say, that's a lot of competition. We've seen a lot of these films and they're all quite different, but wow, it's a tough one.
Yeah. I could see it being as strong in the original screenplay category.
I was just going to say, original screenplay, I think it could take that.
Yeah.
But I don't. I think the whole, it's an honor just to be nominated. I think that's going to have to be its fallback for the most part.
But it wasn't even, there was a controversy because France didn't choose it as its entry into the international Oscar category.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's because they
Honestly,
have
good
so
for
many
them.
good films, I guess. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
No, I kind of do think it's like nonsense that more international films don't get included in Best Picture. So I'm glad they made that decision because it gives France like an extra chance to sort of slide into the international.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like they thought it was strong enough because it won the Palme d'Or.
Right. But so, just general question, Lisa, you brought up the Oscars, but like, who do you think which movie do you think is going to sweep it?
I feel that about Flowers of the Killer Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
That's it. I get them all the time. Killers of the Flower Moon. That makes much more sense. I feel like that's going to be a big winner. That's just my guess. I don't know. I definitely think Lily Gladstone is going to win, and so deservedly. As much as I've got issues with the movie itself, I certainly do not have any issues with her performance. It is incredible. So I feel like she's a shoo-in, but you never know with the Oscars, you really don't. But I just feel like that's the film that's probably going to do it. That's my guess. I don't know. I know we'll be talking more Oscars at another date.
The next couple weeks are real Oscar times for us. Yeah.
So, do we think this movie pops?
Big pops.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely worth the investment of time.
2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Just so you know, Killers of the Flower Moon. Am I saying it right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's 3.5.
But you can watch it at home on your TV and then
Yeah.
take 2 intermissions like I did.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I do think this could have still been 20 minutes shorter, but I do recommend it, and I think it's great. And there's just, it's frustrating, but it's frustrating because, like, I don't know, society's frustrating, so,
Beautifully
Nailed
said.
it.
Beautifully said. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
So we love to leave our episodes on something we recommend. I'm gonna go first this week. Carlos got this board game for Christmas. It's called Wingspan, and I kid you not that we have played it almost every day since Christmas.
What?
Wow.
Sometimes twice a day.
Wow.
I love to bird. This is such a fun game. It's for 2 to 5 people, so he and I can play it alone. And we have played it with like a larger group, but anyway, I love a game that you can do 2 to 5 people. I love a game where there's like multiple expansions because this was like the most popular game of the year a couple of years ago or whatever. And so there's multiple expansions already. All of the illustrations are so beautiful. There's like facts about like bird facts, and you can scan a QR code on each card, I think, to like hear the call of each bird. It's amazing. I love it so much. It's just super fun. I highly recommend it for everyone.
Cool. That
Exciting.
does sound interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'll go quickly then. So I finally got around to seeing the documentary American Symphony that is on Netflix. This is the musician John Batiste, and he is composing a symphony at the same time. His partner, or becomes his wife in the movie, Suleika Jawad, learns that her cancer has come back. So this is her second time. And it is just a beautiful, almost meditative piece that kind of juxtaposes her treatment with what his life is like while his career is kind of really peaking at the same time that she has cancer. And it goes between the two. And, it's a story of a marriage. It's a story of 2 people. It's about art. It's about music. And it's just a really incredible documentary.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's great.
Thank
I've seen it too.
Yeah.
You guys are doing a double rec again.
Yeah, there we go. Yep.
Yeah. I do have another rec though.
Okay.
So in the figure skating update, and there's a new memoir from Gracie Gold that has set the figure skating world on fire. Just like it's called, she calls it Out of Shape Worthless Loser, because that is like the name that she had for herself. And it's her memoir of being an elite skater. And I think, you know, there's a lot of the same themes as Anatomy of a Fall in that, like, you don't know what is going on behind, like, a public figure or a public story and what causes, you know, their downfall or problems. And, like, I don't know how much you remember about Gracie Gold, but like she did really well at the 2014 Sochi Olympics. Like she won a bronze medal with the U.S. team and came fourth in singles. And everybody thought in 2018, like that would be her Olympics. Like she would peak and like she would be the star of that Olympics. And she just had, like, she quit skating like in the months leading up to those Olympics because she just had a complete, like she went into a treatment facility basically and stopped skating. Mm-hmm. And sort of this is her memoir of talking about like what led up to that happening and, you know, like her trying to come back after that and how difficult it was and just kind of, you know, like reckoning with like all that stuff. And then from the outside as a skating fan, you know, like you look at Gracie Gold and you think like she is this person that has everything. Like why couldn't she, like she was poised to be a star at the Olympics. Like what happened? I don't understand. And sort of this is her telling everybody what happened.
Excellent.
And
Wow.
I'm listening to the audiobook and she narrates it and it's really great.
Cool. Thank
Yeah.
you. Well, so many recommendations, including this film. It's so nice when we
Yes.
can recommend the film too.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
it's
I love that. I gotta say.
It's an evening though. Let's just, you know, I think sometimes we need to be,
Yes.
like, it's great to love film, but I think you should also recognize what kind of film you're getting yourself into.
And honestly, if your marriage is a little bit on the I wouldn't watch this
Especially not together.
unless you want to do that work together,
Yeah.
because then you know what, it could be a quicker fix.
Mm-hmm.
Also, don't watch it with someone who's a talker during movies.
No.
Like you need to focus.
You
Yeah.
need to. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I was rewinding quite a bit that I thought I missed, and
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to watch it with the subtitles.
It had
That's how
subtitles.
I like to. No, I know, but I like to watch it with subtitles on in general. So then you get like stylized subtitles on top of other stuff.
Oh,
Anyway,
boy, it's a meta.
it's a real treat for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Thanks everyone for listening. You can hang out with us on the various social media channels, and you could, if you like, rate and review us 5 stars.
We love 5 stars. And we also love our co-host and producer, Andrea Gin, who will take out, I hope, all of the swear words, because nobody knows. Nobody knows how much we swear, really.
Wow, you just really up the ante. It's not just cockamamie. I heard a few other things slip through. Just falling out your petticoats, Lisa. My God.
23 skidoo to you.
Right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.